So Jeeps have a really bad reputation. You know, everywhere you look, everybody's always dogging the Jeep, but yet they hold their value at the top, one of the best, and they're very popular, particularly in South Texas. I see them all over the place. You know, I saw an article recently, it was the latest and greatest ranking of vehicles in the Jeep class, and Jeep, of course, was rated as the worst. Number 10, I think it was. The worst, most unreliable, poorest quality of the segment that you could buy. Now, let me say, I've got a couple of Jeeps right now. We have a 2018 Jeep Wrangler. It's a two-door. And I just bought a 2024 Jeep Wrangler two-door. Both of them are Sport S's. Now, over my lifetime so far, to kind of preface the validity of my opinion, I guess, I have had 8 Jeeps. 3 Jeep Gladiators, 4 Jeep Wranglers, all of them two-doors, and 1 Jeep Cherokee. I'll tell you, the one that I really liked, I love them all, but the one that I really liked a lot out of that list was the Cherokee. But unfortunately, my wife rolled it and it was totaled. But that's a testament to Jeep, I think, because my wife walked away from that accident. Just a couple of bumps and bruises, nothing. And it was a pretty bad situation. So the Jeep Cherokee, it did pretty well. Now, there are 4 valid concerns, one bigger problem, I think, with today's Jeeps. Number 1, I think it depends on kind of how you use it. This isn't really a problem, but this can lead to problems, right? I mean, people buy the Jeep and they think it's a tank, I think. You can take it through anything, any kind of condition, any kind of water depth, beat it, bang it, do whatever you want, and it should be able to take it. I think people often forget that it still is a machine, and there is some technical stuff in it, right? I mean, it's got connections and screens and computers and chips and all that stuff in it, right? So, like your home computer, it is going to take a little bit of a beating, right? But not so much that it's going to just kill it. Number 2, and this is the big one. The big one for me, the one that I've had problems with in both the Jeep Gladiators and a Jeep Wrangler, and that is the auxiliary battery system. I've talked about this before on the channel. It is horrid. Lasts you about 3 years, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, your Jeep Gladiator or Jeep Wrangler, and probably all across the whole line now, has 2 batteries. The main battery, of course, which we all know and love, right? And down below, right below the fuse panel here, up underneath, is an auxiliary battery. It lasts for about 3 years or so. On this particular Jeep, which isn't driven a lot, and I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, it did last for about a little over 5 years, something like that, before it started to go bad. And how did I know it started to go bad? Well, the check engine light came on and it started to start kind of weird. The Jeep did. It was like weak, indicative of a bad main battery. What happens is when that auxiliary battery goes bad, it's constantly trying to recharge itself. And it's like a vampire, right? It will suck power from the main battery. And if the auxiliary never gets charged, that means it will continue to pull power from that main battery until the main battery is depleted, until it goes bad. And that's what I've seen happening a lot out there in the world. People have been stranded because their auxiliary battery system either goes completely out or it drains the main battery to a point where they can't start the Jeep anymore. Now, I did do a sort of solution recently. I thought I had disconnected the auto stop system altogether, which is what the auxiliary battery is part of, by the way. But as it turns out, I did not. All I did is take the auxiliary battery out of the system, which is a good thing because that means it's not going to be drawing power from the main battery anymore. However, the auto stop system is now working off just the main battery. I don't know if that's really an issue or not. Time will tell for me. So far, I haven't had any problems. No check engine lights, nothing like that. And if you want to know what the fix was, there is a video on it on the channel. But briefly what I did, I pulled fuse number 42 from the fuse panel here. And then I disconnected the auxiliary battery negative cable here from the negative on the battery. That in essence takes that auxiliary battery out of the system. Number 3, the high center of gravity. Specific, I think, more to the two-door. Years ago, I had an issue where I almost rolled my two-door Wrangler. Going around a curve on a freeway, wet, then dry pavement, had to hit the gas, started to slide, hit the wet pavement on a curve, and actually went up on 2 wheels. Slammed my head on the roll bar, scared the bejesus out of me, and I slowed down from then on. But you have to be cognizant of that. You know, you're higher up in the air, your center of gravity is higher up, and obviously if you take a sharp turn, too sharp, or have an instance like I did where you're sliding and then suddenly grab in a turn, you could potentially roll the Jeep. I don't know that it's been a huge problem out there. I mean, you hear about it every once in a while. Somebody rolled their Jeep, or maybe they were off-roading and took some kind of a slope or something and rolled it over. But nonetheless, it is a possibility with the Jeep Wrangler, although again, I don't think it's a huge one. Lastly, poor fuel economy. Now, this is something that you really shouldn't complain about, I don't think, if you're driving around in a Jeep Wrangler. I mean, if you're looking for fuel economy, there are plenty of other options out there. You could pick up an EV, you could pick up a hybrid, you could go with a Honda Civic that's going to get you close to 30 miles per gallon. But you need to be aware, I think, that it is going to be lower if you mod the Jeep Wrangler. Now, without modding it, yeah, fuel economy's not great, but it's more respectable. Modded, like this particular Jeep is, it gets about, yeah, if it's lucky, about 15 miles per gallon, something like that. That's because it's got bigger wheels and tires, which adds weight. It also is lifted. It's got 3 inches underneath it, so it puts it higher up in the air, and it has other heavier mods on it, like that front bumper. And then moving around to the back, we also have a bigger, heavier tire that we're carrying around. So it's not really a fault of the Jeep, it's a fault of the owner. Well, my wife in this case. Not a big deal. Again, if you're getting something like a Jeep Wrangler, it's something that you should probably be willing to accept. Anyway, I think really the only thing out of that list that really is a Jeep problem is the auxiliary battery system. I can't believe that Jeep has done nothing to correct this in the, I think about 4 model years or so now that it's been in the Jeeps. I had a bigger problem in the Gladiators that I had. Every one of them failed, every auxiliary battery, and had to be replaced. It was a real bummer. Anyway, I just wanted to get on. I think generally Jeep does get a bad rap. They're extremely popular. They hold their value really well, and all of the talking heads out there hate them. I disagree. I think the ones I've had have been very reliable, and I'm a big fan. Leave a comment. Let me know. Do you agree? Is Jeep the worst vehicle you can buy in its class? I'd just be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.